Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Bloomerang Academy, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. Our instructor for today is Roxy Morris. She is our mobile product manager. She's been with Bloomerang since 2018. It feels like it's been longer. I don't think I can imagine Bloomerang without Roxy. You might also see, I don't know if she'll make a guest appearance today, but you might also see her cat Lena, who might join us. Thanks for being us here today, Roxy. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Diana. Yeah, she's been sleeping most of the day, so I don't think she'll make an appearance today, but she has in the past, so it's a definite possibility.
It's always a fun time when the pets show up. But I know we have a lot of great content to cover today. Thank you everyone again for joining us today. And without further ado, Roxy, please take it away.
Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here today when we talk about using kind of our iOS app and mobile tools in general to help build stronger relationships with your donors. This is a topic near and dear to my heart, just with my experience on the mobile team as well as just my fondness of my phone. So I'm really excited to jump into this. First things first, a brief agenda just so you guys kind of know what we're going to be talking about today. First, I want to kind of cover and kind of talk about how you can use relationships to build revenue and kind of the key points behind that, particularly how donor retention plays into that. Then I want to kind of cover how can you build strong relationships. So what exactly are things that you can do to actually make your donor feel like they have a stronger connection with your organization. And then we're going to jump into the app itself, and I'll show you how you can take some of these different concepts and actually apply them using our mobile app. Oh, I'm so sorry. Jumping right ahead. So there's kind of two sections within the mobile app that I want to cover. First one's how to contact quickly, as well as then the second one's kind of keeping in touch. So what are ways that you can kind of keep that relationship going with your donor even after some of those initial touch points. With that, let's go right ahead. So I mentioned donor retention and how important donor retention is to revenue. So this is one of the key things that we've discovered with Bloomerang in terms of driving revenue and actually kind of having growth within your organization is actually improving your donor retention rate. So we found that on average, people tend to have like a 43.4% donor retention rate. But for first-time donors, that's actually about 20%. So only 20% of your first-time donors actually stay to give another gift. If you can get another donor, if you can get that donor then to donate a second time, whether that be in a year or in a few months, what have you, then they are now 61% more likely to stay and donate to your organization. But then if you can actually get it to 9 monthly, so you build that strong relationship with your donor and you kind of establish this monthly giving cycle with them, then that retention rate actually jumps all the way up to 90%. So the more donors you can keep long-term, the less you have to actually spend to get more donors in the door, as well as the stronger that relationship becomes with that donor. So doors open up down the road for larger stock gifts, request giving, all of these other options that really can show a strong connection with your organization. So really donor retention is a key part in building that kind of long-term revenue. So that's all great, but how do you actually get donors to stay for longer? How do you get them to be repeat donors or to go from just a repeat to a monthly? And one of the things that has come up from this is, and all of this other research in terms of what really makes donors stay, it's donor commitment. So one of the huge reasons that donors stay with an organization is they feel committed to your cause. They feel committed to your organization. They feel like they have a say and they actually are making a difference through your organization. And so the Donor Voice did a lot of research on this, and they came up with 7 drivers of donor commitment. So 7 things that really help push donors to have a stronger relationship with your organization. So first one is donor perceives organization produces outcomes. So that's pretty straightforward. They see the difference that you're making with your mission. Number 2, donors know what to expect with each interaction. So this is kind of a familiarity thing. So every time a donor interacts with you and your organization, they know what to expect. So they know, okay, if I make a donation, I'm going to get a thank you letter and a thank you call. Or if I make a donation, I will receive an update email saying what my donation was used for. I'll be frank with this myself. I'm a creature of habit. We all are. So knowing what to expect when they have an interaction with your organization just makes people feel very comfortable and very close with that organization. Donor receives a timely thank you. So this one's actually bold because I think mobile devices and the Bloomerang mobile app really helps with this. So that's just basically you thank them quickly. They make a donation and you say, hey, thank you so much for this. There's been a lot of research that says that thanking donors within, I think it was 48 hours, causes a huge spike in retention and a connection with the organization. So just very quickly thanking shows that you appreciate them, that you realize that they are giving to you, and that's important. That means something to the organization, basically. By you giving to us, we are thanking you because we know that means something. So number 4, donor receives opportunities to make views known. So this is really fun for me, and I really enjoy this from both sides of the coin, from being a donor as well as being a fundraiser. So basically, this is just a personal communication piece. So basically, you are providing donors a way to tell you, I really love it when you did this, or hey, I didn't have a great experience here. Can we talk about it? And by simply allowing donors to tell you what they feel and to make their views known to you, it makes it feel like two-way communication rather than just one way. So that's something that's really critical, because it not only makes them feel like, okay, I can have a conversation with you, I can have a relationship with the organization, with whoever my main connection is with that organization, but it's not just a one-way street. And the best way I can say this is I've been getting, for example, a lot of mass emails recently, and it's gotten to the point where, all right, I got 13 emails and I scan the subject line and I maybe only read 3. But by having that opportunity for two-way communication and for me to tell an organization, hey, I really appreciated what you did, that naturally makes it stand out to donors because they can have that true conversation. Number 5, donor feels like they're part of an important cause. So this ties in very closely with number 1, but it takes it to kind of another level, because the donor doesn't just see that you're producing outcomes, but they feel like they're directly contributing to that. So they feel like they are directly solving this problem with you and that they're part of it. They're not just someone kind of on the outside looking in, they're there with you solving this problem. And then 6, donor feels like his or her involvement is appreciated. So this really is just kind of tied very closely to number 3, where you tell them, okay, thank you. Your donation means a lot. Because of your donation, we can do this thing. We can feed 10 more people. We can deliver 20 more backpacks. It really kind of makes them feel, once again, like they're part of an important cause, but that you appreciate what they're doing for you. And then donor receives info showing who's being helped. So this kind of ties all of it together, really, because if they see who's being helped, then they feel like, once again, they made a difference. They see the organization produces outcomes, and that makes them feel more inclined to actually help again, because they said, see, my donation made this amazing thing happen. I can donate another $20. Like that's doable. So all of these things really drive a donor to become connected and committed to an organization. And many of these points, many of these things can kind of naturally be achieved by trying to form personal relationships with your donors. So when I say personal relationships, I don't necessarily mean like you gotta be BFFs. It's more just having that two-way communication and that connection. So like I said, personal communication is key. It's not just mass emails, it's not just mailings, it's having that one-on-one communication that makes them feel connected and like a valuable part of your organization. And I can just say a whole lot of words, but this is actually something that we've been noticing as well with some of the Bloomerang data that we collect. So we did a whole bunch of research looking at all of the different kind of channels that people reach out to donors with, and wanted to see just how does that affect revenue. And in summary, we found that the more personal the communication was, the higher the revenue was for that organization. So for example, we've got personal emails. So that's a very personal communication channel. It's your home email. It's not like a mass email, but it's still, I would argue, in terms of like the levels of personal communication, it's still kind of relatively low. Low is not the right word. It's still relatively formal. So with that, by using personal emails, the organization had about a 10% increase in revenue. Then if we look at text messages, which is another very personal form of communication, that also saw about 10% increase in revenue. Where it gets to be really interesting is with phone calls and what we were calling in-person interactions, nonprofits who used those forms of communication actually saw almost a 20% increase in their revenue. And I would argue that phone calls and in-person interactions are the most kind of personal channels you can use, just simply because it's that instant feedback. So you're not necessarily sending an email and waiting for a response. If you're talking on the phone, you're getting that feedback instantaneously. Same thing if you're talking face-to-face, or as more common right now, kind of semi-face-to-face through like a Zoom call or a Google chat, something like that, then you get that instant response. And that's kind of why I would say it's more of a personal communication channel, because it feels more like just a normal conversation. You're just talking to somebody. And so with that, you can see that there is a significant difference. So people who used the really personal channels saw an additional 10% increase in their revenue. And so I kind of like to summarize this as the more personal the touch point, the more personal you can make it, both in the channel that you use as well as the content that you use for them, the better off you're going to be with that relationship, the stronger that relationship is going to be. So great, we now know that personal communication channels are great, content's great, but how do you actually build that stronger relationship? And I kind of mentioned this earlier. When I say personal relationship, it doesn't mean you have to be BFFs with this donor. But what it does mean is that they feel like they have a person to reach out to. They know somebody at the organization. So there's a lot of ways you can accomplish this. You can get board members involved. So we'll see a lot of individuals right now and a lot of organizations use their board members to kind of call and reach out to donors to thank them for gifts, as well as, for example, invite them to a virtual event. So that's kind of one way that you can make it really personal. Another way, let donors know how to help. We like to joke, don't assume they're mind readers. So basically with this is, you can't necessarily assume right now that donors are going to know what you need. Everybody's got a lot of stuff going on right now. And so when you actually actively say, hey, we need about $2,000 in donations so we can get this project going, that makes it more real for donors, and that makes it more tangible and personal, right? It's no longer just a, hey, please donate. It's, no, we really need your help to reach this specific goal. And then letting their donors know how their donation has been used or is going to be used. So in that same example, where if you've got a $2,000 goal and you're trying to reach it and say someone donates $500, when you respond to them and thank them for the email, say, thank you so much. We're now at this part, we're this close to our goal. You've done a lot to help us get there. Thank you so much. The other thing that I know I've been trying to think about and make sure that I consider with everything going on is that donors are more than dollars. So what's really important then with building the strong relationships is that it is a two-way street. And just like how donors may not necessarily know everything that's happening in your organization and how you need help, you maybe don't necessarily know what's happening with your donors. So something that's really helpful with this is thank you calls, right? Just still thanking donors regularly. But if you have a donor who you normally have donate around April each year, and in April you didn't see them, maybe you give them a call. Say, hey, we just want to check on you, see how you're doing, make sure you're okay. And by doing that, you show that you care about your donor in more ways than just your connection to the organization. You want to make sure they're okay, everything's fine with them, and that there's nothing going on, and that perhaps maybe they need your help too. And then opening the two-way communication channel. So giving them a way to reach out to you. This doesn't necessarily mean give them your personal cell phone number. I know a lot of people, they don't necessarily want to do that, and that's perfectly fine. But maybe giving them an email to reach out to, giving them an office number to reach out to. I've seen with a lot of people working from home, they've actually set up forwarding. So basically it's a way that they can get calls sent to their cell phone, but the calls are actually being made to another number. So they've done that as well. So that way donors have a way to reach someone and to have the ability to talk to someone, even if you're not necessarily in the office. And the fun thing about this is mobile makes a lot of this stuff easier to do. So I know I've got my phone with me almost all the time, so I've got constant access to basically make a call, send an email. I've got up-to-date information, so I can quickly look in my different databases that I use to see if someone's phone number changed or if they moved. You can also then use functionality from your phones to make things easier. So I'm a huge fan of talking to notes and using the dictation functionality. So basically just rambling into my phone and recording all that information until I've kind of got the thought down and I can figure out what I'm thinking. And then just having the information that you need when you need it. So with us all working from home, with your donors working from home, you just got to have access to that information quicker and easier. You maybe can't be by your computer all the time. So having information when you need it is absolutely critical right now. And that's one of the things that we've worked very hard on when we're doing building the mobile app. Whew. All right, so that was a whole lot of information that I just kind of rambled on with there. Diana, do we have any questions up until this point?
Thank you so much, Roxy. That was a lot of great information. We don't have any questions at the moment, but I do have a question for our attendees who are with us today. So since we're about to dive into how our mobile app works and how you can use our mobile app with this, we want to find out, are you currently using Bloomerang's iOS app? That would be lovely to know. So it looks like we have 19% are already using our iOS app, and we have 81% who aren't using our mobile app yet.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Okay.
Roxy.
Brilliant. Yeah, good to know, because I'll make sure then to not just cover some specific features, but try to give kind of a general overview of the app as well, so that you guys who haven't necessarily used the app can kind of see what it's about and kind of get a sense for it in general. So a couple of just high-level things before we dive into the app itself. So right now we've just got the iOS version of the app out. We are working on Android right now, but we just tackled iOS first because that was what most of our customers were using when accessing Bloomerang from a phone. So Android is coming. It is free, so it's no additional cost to your Bloomerang subscription. It's just you're part of the Bloomerang family, you get to use the mobile app, you get to use your same login credentials and everything, and it's the exact same data that you would be accessing and viewing if you logged into Bloomerang from a web browser. So exact same data. If you update something in the mobile app, it updates in web. it's all connected. Any license level can use it, so standard, grow, whatever you're using. I know we started off with Benavon customers had limited access, but Benavon, if you have Benavon, you can now log into the app as well and use all of that functionality. So that should cover all kind of the high level points about it. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing this screen here. And I'm going to share my lovely not real phone that I have the mobile app on. So Diana, can we see the phone okay?
Yes, I can.
Brilliant. All right. So welcome to the iOS app. So before you get here, you'll have just a regular login screen. Like I said, you'll just enter in your normal Bloomerang login credentials. And once you do that, it'll log you in and it will drop you right here. So for those who have used the mobile app in the past, this might look a little bit different. But we've got kind of two things here on our dashboard. So we've got this activity section as well as metrics. I'll kind of cover the activity section later, but basically this is a running feed of all transactions that are coming into your database. So I could scroll all the way back to the beginning of my organization here in terms of donations and just kind of see them all. And then we've got this metrics section. And so this is basically your dashboard metrics that you have in Bloomerang. With the donor retention wheel, you can see raised this week, month, year. And then as you can also see your campaign progress. So one thing that we've got that's a bit different from web is you actually can have multiple campaigns listed. And that's really so that way you can compare and see kind of how campaigns are doing compared to other campaigns. But you can edit which campaigns are shown. So basically, if you only want to see 2 of these, you can change it and only show 2. Or if you have 20, you can show 20. It really is up to you and what you want to see. So with this, I kind of want to look at the mobile app kind of through the lens of a fundraiser. So how would I use the mobile app on a daily basis? And for that, I want to jump over to this tasks section. So in this scenario, I'm a fundraiser. I mostly work with our volunteers. So I basically help manage the volunteers to sign up, actually volunteer, all of this stuff. But I use the mobile app. I like to keep track of who my people are, what they've been doing, if any of them donated. And so I come here to the tasks section to see what's going on. And when I first come here, I'm actually going to land on this suggestions tab. And this is where we're going to have our first time donor call list. In web, you see on the dashboard, we've got that first time donor call list with those 5 recommended donors that you should reach out to because they've made a first gift. That will also appear here in mobile, and it'll just show all 5 of them, update automatically depending on if a new donor is added or if somebody reaches out to a donor and they're removed from the list. It'll update just how it does in web. So in this situation, I'm coming here to the mobile app and I notice, oh my gosh, Lena has donated. And Lena's been a volunteer with me in the past, so I'm very excited because yay, we do have I have a relationship with her, but now she's gonna start a new relationship with the organization as a donor and not just a volunteer. So that's really exciting. So I go in here and I tap on this, and this then lets me view the entire first time donor suggestion. So here we've got Lena, her name here, and this actually links out to her profile, which I'll show in a second. We've got donation information here, and tapping this actually takes you to the donation itself, so you can view all of her donation information. Then we've got different actions. So now you can see, okay, if I want to call Lena, I can do that directly from the app. If I want to make a new task, I can do that as well, or I can remove the suggestion. So all of those kind of options that you have in web. And one thing that's different in web than in web, we've actually got a timeline here as well. So this is meant to give you guys a quick overview of all the different touch points you've had with this person already. Since Lena's a donor, there's already 2 interactions in here, so I can kind of tell, okay, she's already volunteered with us. And it provides just a nice overview for this donor, so that way you know, okay, this is my relationship with them. This is kind of where we are. And it's meant to then be informational in terms of not only when you call this person, what are some things you should mention and talk about, but also potentially informative on who should be making this phone call. So in this case, I'm the volunteer manager, so I really don't make first-time donor calls, but I specifically see that this is okay, Lena, I know her. So I want to assign a new task to the person who actually makes the first-time calls. So basically, I can tap that new task button and it will open this new task window for you where you can come in here, change the assignee. So in this case, I'm going to assign this task to Rob. I can still see the constituent. I can still see that it was a first-time donation. We autofill the subject and due date based off of the first-time donor call, as well as the channel, since it is a phone call. Then you can add any notes as well. And this is where some of that extra phone functionality comes in real handy. So I can actually come in here and tell the phone that I need to be adding this information, and now it's already recording my words, so this is a little funny, but but I could say, Lena's been a longtime volunteer. She's been really great to work with. Now that note's been very easily added, I can save the new task. And something you'll notice is once I save the task, I now have some options available to me in terms of what I can do. So I can complete the task, there's a phone call to be made, and you can now see additional created information here as well. So now I close that task. Because I created a task for this first-time donor call, Lena's suggestion goes away. But now I can come over here and it's not assigned to me, but if I come over here, say I want to see all tasks in the database, let it load. Now I can see that this task has been assigned to Rob. It'll be on his to-do list, and he can very quickly just see that he needs to make a phone call to Lena, tap in here, and call directly from the task. So I mentioned earlier that calling quickly is really, really critical to help build that strong relationships with donors. And that's one of the reasons why in every task, if we can put a way for you to directly take action on that task, so be it make a phone call, send a text message, email, we try to put that information right here and allow you to take action on it immediately. So that way you can be very quick. Right, so this task doesn't necessarily require you to open your computer, go look at the email or phone number, then type it into the phone. You can just do it directly from the phone really quickly. And then that's a really strong way then to kind of help delegate tasks and delegate who needs to be working on what, but also then make sure that you're communicating with people who you maybe don't necessarily see now face-to-face every day, and tell them, hey, this donor is important for this reason, or this is something you need to mention when you talk to this donor. So that's also really helpful for board members. So, okay, so I've now assigned this first-time donor call task for Lena to Rob because he's our person who actually makes those phone calls. But since she's a volunteer, I still really want to personally thank her because I know that, all right, this means a lot to her, right? Maybe she's a college student, so this is something really important and like really kind of her to do. So I still want to reach out to her because I do kind of have a relationship. So I consider this kind of like a bonus interaction, right? Where I've still got the formal first-time donor call coming, but this is kind of a bonus. So I can kind of accomplish this in a couple of ways. So anytime you see a row like this, in the Bloomerang mobile app with this kind of arrow to the side, that means that you can click on it and it will take you to somewhere else in the app that kind of follows up with this information. So in this case, if I tap this, this is actually going to go ahead and take me directly to her profile. So that way then I can see exactly all the information that she would have in her constituent record. The other way I can do that is I can come over here and I can search. So basically what I can do here is I can come over here, I can just search for her name directly. If I've like tapped on her profile recently, Then they'll also appear in this recent list. It'll show the 3 most recently selected profiles. And then we also have this favorite section, which is new, which I'll explain a little bit in just a little bit for you when we look at the profile. So now you can come over here and I see Lena's profile. A couple of cool things here. So we've got some additional information just in terms of donation history. We've also got the engagement bar here. If they have a generosity score, then this will actually display here as well. Since we don't have it, I'm not displaying it for you. You'll be able to see their giving summary and all the timeline information. You can see that new task we made is already showing up on her timeline, so that way we can see someone's supposed to do something. And then we've got their profile. So then this holds all of the kind of basic information for this individual. So the names, their household, any relationships, as well as any communication preferences and contact information. And then custom fields are kind of down towards the bottom here. So nothing too wild and crazy there. What I really want to highlight for you guys is some of these options here at the top of this individual's record. So we got a few things. So we've got these 2 contacts here. Wow, we've got these 2 icons here, which are our quick contact icons. Woo, there we go. Words are hard today, apparently. And so basically, this is a way for someone to very quickly reach out to a donor from the profile. So this one here, this kind of @ symbol is a way to quickly email. And basically what this will do is tapping this, it will actually ask you if you have a preferred email provider that you want to use. So for example, if your organization uses Gmail as their primary email tool and the mobile app sees that you have Gmail downloaded on your phone, then it will actually prompt you and say, hey, do you want to use Gmail for this? And then if you say yes, it'll save that preference. After that, it'll open up Gmail with that email every single time. So this is not a real phone. It doesn't like it when I try to open up emails. But so basically, if I were to tap this icon, it would open up your preferred email app with this email already autofilled. Something else that it does is it autofills the BCC email. So for those of you who are looking at me like, what am I talking about? If you go to your user settings, you'll see that there's a BCC email. And basically, if you include that email in the BCC field, when you send an email, it'll actually automatically create an interaction in Bloomerang with the email you sent. So it's just a really easy way to keep track of your emails and to have all of that information transfer automatically over into Bloomerang. So we actually autofill all of the emails for you. So the actual to email as well as the BCC. So that way all information just gets transferred directly into Bloomerang. If you tap the phone icon, it'll actually give you it'll give you 2 options. So you can either choose to call this individual or you can choose to text. This is not a real phone. It does not like to try to call people. It gets very angry at me if I try to, but texting sometimes works. So we're gonna try it today, see if it likes texting. It seems to generally like texting today. And so with this, then you can very quickly just text a donor. So what it'll do is it'll actually pull the phone number into the to field. So that way you can more focus on the content of the text rather than kind of mapping out the phone number and saying, okay, got to remember these 3 digits and then remember the last 4 digits and actually get it typed into your phone. So if we go back to our scenario with Lena, I've worked with her for a long time and I know she likes to text. That's just her preferred method of communication. She and I have sent texts before. So I'm going to go ahead and send her this text. So once I get here, I can go ahead and start sending the text, say whatever I want. I can also use the really nifty dictation features as well. So that way I can just talk to text. And as soon as I'm done with that, then I could basically just send the text. I won't actually send it because this fake phone will get very mad at me. And when you go back to Bloomerang, we're actually going to go ahead and prompt you to create an interaction. This is because we knew that you left the app to go send a text message. So we'll say, hey, we noticed this. Should you create an interaction? So if you choose to create an interaction, we've actually then autofilled the constituent and the channel for you since we knew that you said you were going to send a text message. So then all you really have to do is fill out the purpose. So let's do acknowledgement. Fill out any notes that you have. So I'm just going to type in some stuff there. Fill out any custom fields, attachments. So if you wanted to take a screenshot of the text and add it as an attachment, you could do that. As well as I want to add the subject. And now I can go ahead and save, and I have this new interaction made for this donor. Just like that. So that's one of the things that with the mobile app we've tried really hard to do, is we've tried to make it very easy to reach out to donors in very personal ways. So that way you can then focus more on how do I build a stronger relationship with this donor, not necessarily the logistics of reaching out to them. Whew. All right, so many things. A couple different fun things about this icon. So I like to joke that they're smart. And so if you don't have an email, then we actually won't show this icon at all. If you don't have a phone number at all, we won't show the phone icon at all. The other thing that we do is we will actually tell you if they have a preferred channel or if they have a communication restriction. So for example, if one of their preferred channels was text, we would actually put parentheses preferred next to this phone number, so that way you can see this is how they would like you to reach out to them. The other thing is if they have, for example, a restriction of do not call, we will actually remove this call option in its entirety. We just won't display it because the donor has said to you at some point, please don't call me. So we want to make sure that we respect that and kind of reach out to them in the ways that they prefer. All right, so that then covers kind of some quick ways that you can thank your donors, build stronger relationships, use kind of some of those personal channels to build that stronger relationship and to the benefit of both you and the donor. Specifically highlighting as well kind of how you use first-time donor calls with that. Diana, do we have any questions at this point?
Thanks, Roxy. We're getting some comments here of love the easy access to data on my phone, love being able to thank the donor right away. So thank you for those comments. We do like that as well. I know everyone, of course, still sends out thank you letters, but being able to just call the donor right away or text the donor right away, we've gotten a lot of comments on texting. So that's great. And just to confirm, this is available on the iPhone. Is this available on the iPad as well? And what version of an iPhone should you be on to be able to get Bloomerang Mobile?
Yeah, excellent question. So you can download it on an iPad. I'll give you my little fair warning. It was designed for an iPhone, just simply because if you log into Bloomerang through an iPad, like your web browser, you can still access most everything. So the actual app itself is designed for an iPhone, so you will have to expand it, or else it'll just take up like a smaller portion of the screen, but you can download it on an iPad. In terms of what versions you need to have, I don't remember the iPad version off the top of my head, but with the iPhone version, you do need to be on 13. We had some issues with 12. That's a long story, but but yeah, so you do need to be on version 12 or version 13. Whew, words are hard for me today. My goodness, I am sorry.
No worries. Thank you. So if you have version 13 and up, you are able to download our iOS app. We also have a question here. Is the iOS app just for donation tracking? Does it have other features like email design that are available via website login?
Yeah, so we don't have emails in the iOS app. We don't have letters, and we don't have reporting yet. If any of those things are things that you would want to use in an iOS app, then feel free to let us know in the features portal through web. That is something that we're always looking for ways to improve the iOS app. This is just the first version of it for us, and we're still looking for ways to be making improvements. So if that's something that you need, then please let us know. but mostly it's got your dashboard information, it's got task management, and it's got profile access and adding information. So adding like timeline entries.
We have a follow-up here. Can you add an interaction if you delete do you want this to show as an interaction? I think they might be talking about the prompt to create the interaction after a phone call or an email. If you dismiss that, can you still create an interaction after?
Of course, and that's actually a wonderful transition into this kind of next spot over here, which is our magical plus button. I joke that this takes the place of the big blue button in Bloomerang, so it's kind of your big blue drop down. If you tap on this, then this will give you the ability to add a new task, interaction, note, or donation to the mobile app. So you can add an interaction this way as well. We won't necessarily be able to autofill any information for you just because we won't know what you intend to put in those fields, but you can just kind of come right in here, tap, and add a new interaction that way.
Wonderful. Thanks, Roxy.
Yeah, no problem. So if we look back at our scenario, we've now reached out to Lena and we've thanked her kind of from the volunteer side. But let's say that now I want to keep track of her. Say, all right, she's now a donor, so now let's try to keep track of her and make sure that we stay up to date with like her relationship with the organization, anything that she's doing, all of our different interactions and touch points. I want to know what's happening. So we've got a few different ways that you can do this. The first way is actually through that favoriting that I mentioned earlier. So if you look here, we've got this icon, that's our lovely little star icon. And if you tap that, then what that does is that adds a little star to the profile picture and actually adds this individual to your favorites list. So this is something that I think is really cool and has a lot of possibilities. Basically, this is a list of people that are important to you that you want to keep track of. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily at an organization level. This is actually based on your individual user. So in this case, my favorites would be completely different from Diana's favorites in the app. So we've seen a lot of people use this for solicitation lists. I've seen the volunteer managers use it to manage their top volunteers. I've seen board members use it to manage, like, just keep track of their friends. Like if they know that their friends are donors, they then can favorite their friends and have easy, quick access to the profile. So it's something that's really flexible and is solely based on what the individual user wants, not necessarily the organization. So right now, what favoriting does is if you, like I said, if you add that star, they appear in this favorites list. And anywhere else in the app, if you were to, for example, see Lena's profile picture, it will have that star. So that's just meant to indicate that they're a favorite of yours. So mostly this is right now just the list. We are looking at different ways that we can use favorites, but for the kind of initial release of it, we wanted just to keep it pretty simple. So really flexible functionality there, really cool, and it's really easy just to very quickly find someone. So in this case, I would never have to search for Lena's name again. She's always in this list that I can immediately access. The other thing that's really cool in terms of what we've got going on, so you can keep track of your donors and then know, okay, what their relationship is with you, have they had any touch points, is that activity feed that I mentioned earlier as well. So if we come back here, you can see the activity feed with all of the information of any donations that come through. So you can see if it's a regular donation, a recurring donation payment, you can see pledge payments, you can also see if there was a refund, anything that's related to a transaction, you will be able to see in this list. And this is really helpful because, say for example, I'm a board member and I'm just wanting to see what's going on. I can scroll through the list and I can say, wow, there's a $500 donation from Bloomerang. So I can click in, I can see the donation information, I can see if there's any notes, soft credits, if it's been acknowledged, and if I notice it's not been acknowledged, I can actually come here go directly to the profile and immediately call Bloomerang to thank them for such an amazing gift. So it really is a way that you can thank donors really quickly. You can keep track of, okay, has someone given recently? You can see, all right, I didn't expect them to give a gift, but wow, look, it's right there. I can see it kind of rolling in as the day goes on. So you can then be really quick about thanking them, right? So you don't necessarily need to run a report once a week to see all the new donations that come through. You can just immediately refresh this page and then see if any new donations came through and immediately thank them. And if you've got a stronger relationship with them already, say this is their second gift or a third gift, you can access the profile quickly and see and mention that as well. So it's a really cool tool. I'm very excited about it because it just really helps you acknowledge someone incredibly quickly. But also then just keep tabs on what's happening with your donors, right? So maybe you're not necessarily the one calling Gina Smith whenever there's a donation that comes through. But now you know that if you see Gina Smith, say for example, walking down the street and you run into her, you can see that you can very quickly know that she's had a donation here recently. And like I said, this is fun because you can go all the way back to the very beginning of your organization as well, to just then be able to see, okay, what have we been doing? What are we getting? What donations have we been having coming through? So that's a really easy way then to be able to keep track of donors and kind of just monitor what's happening without necessarily just be staring at your phone as well. So I really like it. I think it's really cool. And when I actually have to go help people fundraise, this is something that I'm constantly looking for when whatever system I'm using is I basically have a report going that I update constantly to see if there's a new donation coming through. All right, so that then covers, I think that covers most of the app in kind of an overview sense. Since there was a good portion of you who hadn't used the app before, I'm going to go ahead and cover a couple more sections just so that you kind of know what it's for. So we've got this little plus section down here. This is what we're calling our little add new section. It's pretty straightforward. This is where you'd be able to add a new individual, organization, or household through the mobile app. So say, for example, you're walking down the street and you meet Gina's cousin, then you can add them to the database very quickly. So that way your database is always up to date, always accurate, and you know who's in there, who you've met, who you've talked with. You can also add timeline entries through here. So basically, instead of adding a timeline entry on a profile, you can actually just go ahead here and add an interaction by searching for someone. So if they're recent, they'll show up in this list as well, or your favorites will show up here. So say, for example, this is another good one where if you're just out and about and you run into somebody and you had a really good conversation that you wanted to record and make sure that you had in Bloomerang, then you can go ahead and just say, add new interaction to this person, fill out the information and hit save, and you don't necessarily have to be on their profile to do that. So that's kind of the add new area. And this area over here is our kind of more section. It's kind of the catch-all that every app needs. A couple of helpful things here. So for those of you who do have the app, if you're wondering if you're on the latest version, you can always check this About tab, and that will tell you what version you're on, as well as take you to the App Store or look at our privacy policy. So if you need to update the app, you can just very quickly go to the App Store and update it there. We've also got help and videos link. You've got a way to send feedback to us. So if you've got feedback on the app, I read all of this and I look at it, so you can let me know what you think. And then we've also got a way for you to email support. So if you're having trouble, you can then just directly email support from the app. We've also got user settings. So this is basically your user settings in the app. Nothing too crazy here. I mentioned that BCC email earlier, which is basically the way to get emails automatically added to Bloomerang as an interaction. So you can see that as well here and get access to that email if you needed it for some reason outside of the app. So that's kind of what those two sections are. Like I said, they're a little bit more admin, a little bit more kind of basics, app things that you might need that you wouldn't necessarily use on a daily fundraising basis, but they are available if you need it. Something else that is relatively new with this app, you'll see we got these device settings section. We actually do have push notifications now. So this is something we just released, I think last couple weeks ago. And essentially with our push notifications, around 9 a.m. each day, you'll get a push notification saying if you have tasks due that day, or as well as any overdue tasks. So this is something that will be really helpful with that first time donor call list example. So if you assign a task to someone and they have the mobile app, then they'll get a notification that day saying, hey, you have a task due today. So you don't necessarily have to worry about someone forgetting about a task, or will they actually see this task? If they got task emails turned on, then they'll get an email, but then they also will get a push notification day of on their phone saying, hey, you have a task due today in Bloomerang. So that's something very new for us as well. And with that, that covers kind of a good chunk of the app. Diana, do we have any questions?
Thanks, Roxy. On the activity feed, what kinds of transaction types are we seeing here? And is there a way to filter what kind of transactions you see?
Yeah, so right now you're going to see any transaction type. So you're going to see soft credits, refunds, donations, recurring donation payments, pledge payments. You will also see if there's a pledge or recurring donation schedule added, but with pledges and recurring donation schedules, we don't have the ability to view those in the iOS app yet. So you'll see that they exist in the activity feed, but if you try to tap into them, you'll get a message saying that it's not available yet for you to actually look at. We don't have any way of filtering it yet. That is something that we're looking into just because I think there's a lot of different ways we could take this activity feed. So we are looking into potentially adding filtering, but we just don't have that added in yet.
Awesome. Thank you. Someone's asking, can you show us again where the favorites are listed, please?
Of course. So sorry, I do kind of go through it pretty fast. There's a lot to cover, and I want to make sure there's time for questions. So anyway, so favorites, you can see them in a couple of places. So if you actually favorited someone, let me go back here. That star is going to always be shown on their profile picture. You'll actually see a list of them when you come over here to the search section. So you'll have your recent section at the top here, which will show your 3 most recently selected records. But then we'll also have the favorites section underneath of this. So then that's where we're going to group all of your favorites together. So that way you have just very quick access to them. One thing I did forget to mention is you can have as many favorites as you want. We don't set a limit on it. So we have had people joke with me that they're going to favorite their entire database. And, you know, if I told them if that's what his heart desired, go for it. But they'll be just kind of all listed here on your search screen directly under your recents list. Now, if you want to change a favorite status, you do that when you actually go to their record. You'll see this little star here at the very top, and you can very easily just turn favorites on and off by tapping on that star. So if the star is filled in, that means that they have been favorited, and we'll add the little favorite icon on the profile picture. And if it's kind of not filled in, then they're not a favorite.
And right now, favorites are exclusive to the mobile app, correct?
They are. We don't have favorites in web yet. So favorites are exclusive to mobile. The activity feed is exclusive to mobile. The campaign comparison that I showed you earlier, where you can have multiple campaigns listed on top of each other, so you can, like I said, compare. That is also exclusive to mobile.
When you're emailing a donor from the app, what email is showing as the from email? Is it the email in your user settings?
It'll be the email that you have associated with that account. So say, for example, if I were to use the Gmail account from the mobile app right now, so if I were to tap this and use an email, it would open up Gmail, since that's my primary Gmail, and it would use my Bloomerang email address because that's the account that I would open up Gmail with. So it'll use whatever email is associated with the account that you open the app with, if those words made any sense.
Yes. We have a great question here. Do you have to sync your mobile and your computer or the web? Do you have to do any kind of sync between mobile and web?
Oh, that is a great question. I haven't gotten that question yet. So you don't. So there's a couple of things that you can do, but the app is actually constantly updating with what's information's in mobile. So say, for example, if I come in here and I edit this task and I add a period or something like that. When I tap save, it actually went ahead and updated that in web for us. So it automatically updated that in web. But if somebody were to, say, for example, change it in web and I already had this loaded, all I have to do is just pull down and refresh, and it should then update to the most recent information. So it is updating and refreshing whenever you load something new. So if I wanted to make sure I had the correct profile information, I could just refresh and pull down on the app, and it'll check and make sure there's no new information that it doesn't have. So it is checking anytime, for example, you reload a page. If you add something new, it's updating information. But we do have that manual way of refreshing to double check to make sure you're in sync.
Wonderful. Thanks, Roxy.
So just to kind of wrap it all up, mobile can be a very powerful fundraising tool. I think the more we see with everything that's happening in the world right now, the more powerful it does become, just because it gives us all a lot of flexibility to access information from wherever we are. But it also allows us to have that personal touch, even if you're not necessarily at a computer with all of your information easily accessible. So that's something that I think is even more critical now, is just having that strong relationship with donors, and combined with how critical mobile devices are, it's a powerhouse combo that I know I use every day when I fundraise, and I know it's incredibly helpful for those who have a system set up the way they want it to be.
Thank you again, Roxy, for being with us today and showing us all the wonderful things from our mobile app. I'm getting some compliments on the chat and the Q&A, so thank you to our mobile team as well. And of course, we're always looking to improve. So if any of you have any suggestions for us, there's a couple that I flagged for us as well. Please let us know. And we hope to see you in another Academy class soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.